Well, Eskom confirming today it was able to make a profit of just under 24 billion rand before tax, partly because it was able to dramatically reduce the amount of the amount of money it spent on diesel. But the real story, I suppose, is that Eskom has pretty much ended load shedding, and at the same time, it says it's making big inroads in preventing corruption and crime at the utility. The Group Chief Executive Officer at Eskom is Dan Marokane. Dan, good evening and thank you for the time. What's changed in Eskom that has led to such a dramatic change? Hardly any load shedding, maybe no more in the future. You're using a lot less diesel. What's changed at Eskom?
Good evening, Stephen, and good evening to your listeners. Stephen, I want to accept the use of the word dramatic. If you look at the performance to date, vis-a-vis the performance at the peak of intense and frequent load shedding back in 2022-2023, but within the context of a very clearly thought-through plan for operational recovery as captured in our Generation Recovery Plan devised in 2023, April, May, we expected to see this kind of results as long as we stay the course in terms of disciplined execution. The operational performance that we are seeing is really coming on the back of having identified the pain points throughout the coal fleet in particular, resourced it appropriately with the support from National Treasury that allowed us to be able to do our planning and the purchasing of spares on time and the timely onboarding of contractors and our own resources, and then staying the course in terms of execution and doing the necessary course correction where necessary. You'll recall, Stephen, 2 summers ago we embarked on a very massive maintenance program that saw us having load shedding in the summer. And we said this was going to be short-term pain for long-term gain. When we had some challenges at the beginning of this calendar year, we indicated that we saw slippages from returning units from maintenance being the cause of those load sheddings. We have gone through the massive maintenance program. We are seeing the results with the improvement of the energy availability factor. And when we perform at the level that we are doing, we expect the finances also to start telling the same story. And this is exactly what we see. Yeah.
So you did that big maintenance. Some of the equipment that you're using and I suppose relying on is still quite old. Some of it's very new, of course, if I think of Medupi and Kusile. Are you ever going to be in that position again where because it's old, it needs another big maintenance program, or are you better able to manage that going forward?
So, Stephen, I'll tell you this. In engineering terms, there's nothing that is old. As long as you do the maintenance appropriately, follow a consistent philosophy, you'll get the performance out of the equipment. We do refurbishments, and I'll give you an example of one of our power stations. Hendrina Power Station is one of the oldest. Hendrina, for a very big part, since May, June, has been running at over 70% energy availability most of the time. It is old, but it is well maintained, is cared after, and there's timely interventions. What we need to do going forward to sustain this level of electricity security is to ensure that we do not ever go back to a point where, because of money scarcity, we are unable to execute the maintenance programs as and when they are due. This is fundamentally what brought the business to a state that was in, and that's part of our sustenance activities going forward here.
Okay, you've made a profit, Dan. You say that the money will be invested back into Eskom. Presumably that's not going to allow you to reduce tariffs anytime soon.
Look, our debt levels are still high, Stephen. You know that we started off at the peak of, 2 years ago, we are sitting at about 450 billion. The NT, National Treasury intervention, is underway. It's reduced now to 230 from the original 254 or 252 or so. We still have 18 months to go on that. We need to get down to a sustainable level of around 300 billion rand. In the interim, we have to continue investing in the asset care, investing in the business to make sure that we now hit a new way that is consistent from a performance perspective going forward. So yes, these profits are good, they are surplus, but there's a lot of work to do internally in terms of reinvestment in the business.
No, sure. I mean, if we look at the history of Eskom, I completely accept that. You confirmed today you dropped your case against NERSA that was to try and stop the licensing of 4 electricity trading companies. Just to confirm, you're never going to bring that case back. It's gone.
No, Stephen, I did not say that. And I want to confirm, maybe to put this for you again for the record. This is Chris Yelland, who went on to this. The minister asked the Eskom board to consider two things. A, to drop the case or to stay the case. To stay the case to allow the process of rules determination to unfold. We reflected as a business, the board reflected, and we are in the process of formulating the rules. We are participating with all other stakeholders in that part of the value chain with NERSA. We are comfortable that we'll emerge on the other side, and the period was about a 3-month period to be able to do so. Our focus is to really get to a point where we have a rule-based reform landscape, because we do not believe in getting into reforms terrain that is not regulated or that does not have clarity of rules at all. And so we are very committed to participating in the formulation of the rules. That's what we are doing.
Okay, the issue as I understand it was that you were concerned, or Eskom was concerned, let me put it like that Eskom would not be sustainable if electricity trading, if these 4 licenses were given under the current circumstances, so under the current rules, or I suppose lack of rules. Do you believe then that there is a set of rules that could be adopted that would allow these electricity traders to be sustainable themselves, make a profit, and would allow you as Eskom to be sustainable?
So the issue in a nutshell was that we believed without rules there was an inappropriate allocation of cost to players who are not regulated like us. There are some fundamental assumptions that underpin the tariff pricing approach that is on the table. Left uninterrogated, it was creating an unfair advantage to those that are coming in unregulated. As a matter of fact, Stephen, these issues are being ventilated in the discussions at NERSA, the regulator. What you will see is an outcome that addresses each and every aspect of the components of the pricing structure. And we'll be very comfortable that NERSA determination in these aspects will go some way materially different from where we started off in terms of our concerns. That's what we're dealing with at the NERSA process here.
Okay, Dan, thank you. I do appreciate the clarity. There is also the NERSA inquiry into electricity charges. And as I understand it, this is really about the way that the charges that the end customer pays, how that charge is calculated. At the same time, and I made this point in conversations we had about this last night, the way in which Eskom explains to the regulator, NERSA, through its tariff application every 3 years, pretty much explains where your costs come from. Do you expect any of that to change? What I'm really asking, Dan, is as a result of all of this, do you think electricity prices, is there any prospect of them coming down, or at least having the rate of increase coming down?
What we need is a tariff determination environment that talks to the reforms that we are all embracing. So the current tariff methodology is predicated on a particular setup that is now outdated. If we start showing unbundled tariff and we have a lot of transparency around user pay for services, you will see a new tariff structure. And by the way, we are not the first people to go through this. All other countries that have introduced reforms like this have had to review their tariff structure approach, and we are engaging with it. We know the big components of it. We need to understand who needs to play what role, and what capacity do we need to be held in case the country has to depend on it, who pays for it, and how do you pay for it. So the clarity of rules is something that we as Eskom have emphasized, that you cannot have rapid reforms outside an environment of updated rules. So the pricing, the tariff, the distribution rules, independent players at this level, all of this require rejigging because the environment which we are moving into is different.
And in the meantime, people who can pay, so let's just say richer people and companies, are trying to get off the grid, not quite as quickly as they can, but certainly pretty quickly. Every CEO I speak to that's not in the government sector talks about it. That's a real risk to your sustainability over the longer term, isn't it?
It is a real risk to towards our sales as things stand, but we also have to embrace new opportunities in the reforms that are taking place. Stephen, I'll tell you that we spend time with our top 20 customers, commercial customers, industrial customers who said we are very much happy to see how you are performing, your recovery. We had wanted to dabble into the issue of own power generation. It is not our core competency. We think that we may have a mutually acceptable solutions collaborating with you so that we can also move into your aspects and portfolio of renewable energy for us. These are opportunities that I imagine on the back of the realization of the renewed performance of the business itself. And by the way, to drive economic growth, you require more energy than what we have at the moment. We don't see a cannibalization of the current size of the market as being an issue. What we need to do is to grow the supply of electricity so that we can grow the economy. So there is a role for everyone to come into the space. As the minister makes the example, nobody goes and sinks a shaft to power it with renewables only. So there is a requirement for different types and technologies for different requirements in our economy. We've seen examples where utilities like us entered into a reformed environment similar to what we are going through, and they've actually seen growth in their sales going forward as the growth in the electricity demand in those countries increased as well.
Dan Marokane, I really appreciate the time. Thank you very much indeed. The Group CEO, the Group Chief Executive at Eskom. It's 24 minutes after 6. Listening to that, the energy expert, Ruse Moleshe. Ruse, good evening. To listen to all of that, do you think that Eskom has a great future ahead of it? Is it going to be sustainable if you look at all of the changes that are happening all at the same time?
Well, thank you, Stephen. Good evening to you as well and the listeners. Yes, I think there is hope for Eskom, although there are drawbacks, and if they don't succeed in that, they could face challenges. So the way I see it, from improving the performance of the power plants, of course, that's a positive. And then the cost efficiencies that they seem to be introducing, reducing the use of diesel, reducing those kind of things, improving the performance of the plant also increases the revenue that they are having, although they still depend on tariffs, and there needs to be certainty on tariffs. Where I see the drawdown, the challenges are within the municipal debt reduction space, and if the plans that they have to have at least smart meters and try to arrest that situation, and also have performance agreements with some of these municipalities where they claw back some of the money, then there is hope in that regard. So yes, optimization of the balance sheet, of course, is not sustainable getting the debt relief from government, but the fact that they are looking to improve their performance and ensure that in the long run, with a proper tariff that is clear, that there's a proper path to sustaining that balance sheet, then yes, definitely, I see a lot of positives.
Jose, we're not used to positives in electricity. Do we need to actually stop for a moment, look at where Eskom was, look at where it is now, and, I don't know, celebrate, congratulate the management?
Oh, certainly. We definitely have to do that. As Eskom is indicating, I mean, the number of days of load shedding, at some point we're at stage 6 load shedding, pre-2022 or around 2022, and now we've seen 96% improvement with very little serious interruptions. So that must be commended, and it must be commended for the fact that it's still sustainable. You're still going to see additional capacity coming in that is reliable. So that must be commended. I mean, with the Kusile power plants, at some point where the Unit 4 of the Medupi burning literally, so those kind of inefficiencies and those things have been improved. Of course, there's room for improvement. As I say, on the distribution side of things, that's where we have leakage, and we have that debt that needs to be significantly reduced. It's approaching 100 billion now. And that those interventions, we hope that they'll be as methodical as they have been on the generation side, and that will turn around the situation.
Ruse Moleshe, thanks so much. Energy expert on The Money Show.